So now that I've completed the new wave battle event, I feel like I'm qualified to talk about the wave battle event. When we were previewed the wave battle event in the news, if you saw the YouTube video, that was a unique idea, but at the end of the video, I said I was pretty confident that it would just be a King Mog style event, like five wave monster battle, maybe 6. Maybe there's a bonus wave, maybe there's not. And then instead of the enemies dropping currency, they'll just draft crafting materials. I came up with that idea because there's like 70 different crafting recipes that drop out of this event. And beginner, intermediate, advanced, pro, elite, and then 3 different legendary versions. It's a fine idea in concept. But since it's this way, or it's like a melding of raid and a melding of a King Mog event, you're still farming, and you're farming specifically to craft the new recipes from the event. The downsides of this sort of style are that you're still spending energy or some sort of resource to continuously farm what is the equivalent of trash monsters. So it's not really a new sort of gameplay mechanic, right? Because that's just a King Mog. That's what you do for King Mogs. So it's the same sort of style thing there. And another downside is while you're farming, you're just getting drops. And those drops are for very specific things. So I can see the idea of farming materials and using those materials to craft items, which is very similar to farming a King Mog for currency and using that currency to just buy the item. Okay? But the difference becomes that on a King Mog, on top of having weapons and armor and stuff and materials to buy with King Mog currency, they have the rare summon tickets, they have the cactar pots, they have the gill snappers, and all of that stuff. So there's much more things for you to buy. And then comparing this wave battle to like a raid is like the kind of similar. Unlike a King Mog event, a raid, you don't have to farm the raid with energy. You don't have to farm up materials or a currency from the raid to buy a weapon or craft a weapon. You spend orbs instead, so you can do a raid in addition to something else, which is another downside to the wave battle. And so at the end of the day, the way that the wave battles were implemented here, it seems to be like the worst parts of a King Mog and the worst parts of a raid thrown together, right? And they did add, you know, bonus monsters, as in golden bombs and gill snappers and cactars, which are, I guess, are supposed to supplement or represent your ability to, you know, buy cactars from a King Mog event or pull cactars from a raid event. The problem is they're still incredibly rare, like super rare, like extremely rare, to the point where like they almost might as well not exist. If you're farming the event for cactars and stuff, just don't. Just go do something else with the energy, because energy is a super important resource. So this sort of event, like, it's not a bad idea. It was just implemented extremely poorly, right? You're farming up this currency or these items and materials, and what's the end game profit? Well, like, what are you doing it for? You want to make the 5, 6, 7, 8 different recipes, okay? And the problem ultimately right now with this is that those items just aren't worth it. Maybe if you're a brand new player, they're worth it. But if you've been playing for like 3 months, man, 3 months, it's not going to be worth it for you, right? So if the items aren't worth it for you, then your only incentive is to get the really low rate drop cactars and gill snappers, which is terrible, right? So if you compare this specific event to a King Mog event, you spend a bunch more energy and get less rewards. And now there is the small upside of like you don't need new units for the bonus, like for the King Mog bonus. to get bonus currency the whole time. But like, that doesn't offset how bad all the items are. So let's go look at the items and we'll talk about those really quick. All right. So if it's going to be a new event, where the carrot at the end of the stick are these weapons and armors and materials and stuff that you're going to craft, they need to be good, right? If you're not really getting anything supplementary along the way, there's not tickets to buy, there's not 4-star tickets to buy, there's not 5-star awakening materials, there's not pure crysts, there's not, you know, 100 cactars and some max level king cactars and stuff like that you can just buy, then the end game rewards for this event should be the pieces of armor that you're crafting. And they cannot look like this, okay? They cannot look like something that a day one player might even snuff their nose at. And they just can't, right? You can't put in a 25 defense, 15 spirit shield, of 15% dark resistance and say, yeah, I'm going to spend a lot of time crafting this. You know, and I understand that it doesn't really cost a whole bunch, but we cleared each thing one time, and we can make 2, almost 3. No, we can make 1 of these because it takes cursed needles. So we can make 1 of these things for running through the whole thing one time. Right? We can't make a single Tauren dress yet because look how much it freaking costs. 700, 700, 500. You want me to invest all that energy for something that is marginally useful sometimes because it does have stone resist, which is fine. It's fine, but this is something that you'd find in a King Mog. This item is something you would find in a King Mog event for like 5k currency. This would be a 5k currency King Mog item. It would not be like 180,000 King Mog currency item. It just wouldn't, right? No, it would not. This is not the equivalent of Kiyomori or the buffed revolver or Erdrick's sword. It's nothing like that. It's a 12 attack stone resist body. You would buy this for 5,000 King Mog currency if it was in a King Mog event. You would buy this for 1.8k King Mog currency if it was in a King Mog event. The metal earrings in the Eternal Flame, no recipe. Okay, well the Eternal Flame are also, these two are also pretty expensive. And these would be the equivalent of like a 5k, maybe 10k, 18k, you know, on a good day King Mog item. It's something for a new player to chase after. And they are some of the better items that you can get from here, but only for newer players, right? And then the materia, Katana proficiency, spiritual proficiency, demonic might, and demonic mind. This is stuff that has... And they're easy to craft, but this kind of stuff has existed for forever. And these are materia that you'd pick up from a King Mog, like the Demonic Might and Demonic Mind. You'd probably pick these up for like 2k. You know, 2k each. They're easy to craft, but like they're not that strong. Like why aren't these 20%, 10%? Make them useful. Make them more expensive too. Make these things better, but harder to get. Okay? Right? Maybe leave a couple of things that aren't that good that are pretty easy to make. But this kind of event's already been done before and in a better way. And I think this is the thing that really gets me the most is that like this is a new style event and it seems to mesh a King Mog event and a raid event together in the worst ways possible. But this event's already been done before. This event has existed. This event was done, what, two years ago or a year ago, a year and a half ago? The Egg Seekers event was this event, except there were no, you know, it wasn't like in the vortex. You just went and did whatever you want, and you just got your crafting materials and stuff like that. Well, you got like the brown eggs and stuff. You got what color eggs were there? Like red eggs, blue eggs, yellow eggs, whatever. You just got different colored eggs while you're out and about doing whatever you wanted. So you're not spending energy specifically to farm stuff. You just got stuff while the event was going on. And Egg Seekers had good items, like some top tier items at the time. You know, when Black Cow used to be like the best headpiece in the game, 28 attack sleep resistance. You had the black bandana, like 20 attack sleep resistance. Got it from Egg Seekers, right? You had a hybrid ice resistant accessory. You had a staff that was insane. 40 spirit, 20 defense, 20 something else on it as well. Super awesome staff there. You had a dagger that gave you friggin' dual wield when dual wield was extremely rare. And you either had to like get a Genji glove from a 5-star base named Gilgamesh who hadn't been on a banner in 20,000 years, or Zidane, and you had to farm their TMR up. We didn't have TMR Mughals back in the day very well. Or we had them, but they were incredibly rare. You'd get like maybe like 25% a month in a TMR Mughal if you did everything. So this kind of event's done before. If you want to redo this kind of event again, I wouldn't say no to another one of these, but you would have to do it correctly. This is like you've done literally everything wrong possible, right? So how would I fix it? Well, number one, I think I like this. Pure Blood, Black Grimoire, like 3 different legendary things. Maybe next time, make a 4 or 5 different legendary modes, right? They'd each drop a specific item at a higher rate. And that would correspond to adding more items to craft that are higher tier. I would up the Cactars and Gill Snapper bonus rates. You don't have to make them like every time you play, but maybe you could. Maybe you could do that. Maybe you make it like every other single time you go. Because 40 energy is a lot of energy for just getting crafting materials. And then you have to make the weapons and armors and accessories and stuff worth people's efforts, you know? Why did we get Kiyomori so long ago, but we haven't seen anything on par of Kiyomori yet? Like, if there was like a good item, people would still bitch about this event, but they'd get that one good item that was really good, a 10% dodge sword or something, and they'd be out. You know, but if those people had a 10% dodge sword, maybe like a good magic body piece, or a good accessory or a materia or something that's worth their time, because it doesn't need to be like a top tier TMR / super TMR piece of gear. It needs to be a unique piece of gear that, you know, is hard to get, and if it feels like your time invested into the event is worthwhile. And then give some people some bonuses along the way with the Cactar showing up or the Gill Snapper showing up. You cannot give them a 25 defense, 15 spirit shield, and a 7 attack or 12 attack body. You can't. You know? If you change up the event in the way we talked about, and you make the items and materials and armors a little bit better, a little bit harder to make to incentivize it. Don't make them ridiculously hard. Maybe like how like the chest piece right now costs like 700, make it cost like 1,000 and make it much better, right? Make it really good. Make it unique, make it desirable, you know? It doesn't have to be like just raw stats and super strong. You know, maybe you make a body piece or a robe or something that's got limit burst fill rate on it, or a limit burst crystal per turn. Make it unique, give a little stats. Something like that. You can do whatever you want. Don't make a 12 attack immune to stone robe and make it exceptionally hard to get and call it a day, and then make the next item decently hard to get and make like a 25 defense, 15 spirit shield that's like worse than most other shields of the game. You need to make the reward justify the amount of farm for the items that you need to put in. The items cannot be bad and they cannot be expensive. Make them a little bit more expensive and make them a hell of a lot better. Right? Make unique items, maybe a different kind of dodge piece of gear, limit burst, high tide, multiple element resistance. You need to make them better though, because the items, if these were King Mog items, they'd be the equivalent of like a 5,000 King Mog currency item. Not like 180,000 King Mog currency item, but like a 5,000 currency King Mog item. So that, and if you do that, maybe buff up the elite a little bit more so newer players can access it. Maybe buff the drop rates if you're buffing up the old costs a little bit, or you leave it the same. Maybe put in some middle tier items for newer players, and then leave the legendary rewards accessible to them, but make them, you know, have to find some strong friends to get them through it. But with that being said, like as it is right now, this event is just garbo. It's terrible. It's the worst parts of a King Mog event. It's the worst parts of a raid event collectively together. It's just worse than that. And like we said earlier, it's just Egg Seeker's event with like way worse gear that forces you to fight garbage monsters in the vortex instead of going and doing whatever you want in the world or anything else. I forgot about Egg Seekers. I forgot